Elric, the White Wolf from Titan Comics. This is issue number 1, and this is based off of the novel series by Michael Moorcock. In fact, I kind of get the impression that they basically just took the exact dialogue and condensed it. This is part 1 of a mini series. This is actually the 3rd volume. So there was the Ruby Thorn, and then there was Stormbringer, and I guess this is the 3rd one. But yes, I feel like this is basically, he said adopted and written by Julien Bondel and Jean-Luc Cano, based on the novels by Michael Moorcock. But I feel like the dialogue and stuff like that might just be straight up taken from the novel, one of the novels, and then just condensed and adapted into comic form. But I'm not sure because I haven't read any of the Elric stories. I do have a copy of the first novel. I just haven't had a chance to read it yet. Anyone who knows Razorfist, he's a huge fan of Elric, and I saw his Elric videos, and it interests the hell out of me. It sounded really cool. So I picked up the first novel, but I just haven't had a chance to read it yet. But I did get a chance to read this, and this was awesome. Looks like they have more stuff from Michael Moorcock. I'm going to have to see if I can track them down. Those are kind of expensive, though, but those are actual volumes. We'll see. But yeah, this is actually really good, and it's thick as hell. And the price tag is only $3.99. So, basically for a regular DC or Marvel comic book, you get almost twice the issues in one. But basically, quick story of Elric is he's a albino, so I guess he's hated and considered to be weak, and he uses the blood of human slaves to give him strength. He has a lover who happens to also be his cousin, and he has a sword called the Stormbringer, which basically convinces him to kill people, and it feeds off their souls. And I guess there's some kind of... He was the leader of... I'm probably going to butcher this. Melniborne. He was their king, and basically there was some kind of prophecy, and the prophecy said that he was going to kill his lover. So to prevent that, he gave up his kingdom, and he gave up his lover. Well, he abandoned her, so that he can try to prevent that prophecy from happening. And that's where we start. We start a year later, since he's left his kingdom, the Dragon Isle, and since he turned his back on his people, his throne, and abandoned what's dearest to him, which is his lover. And yeah, he basically just wanders around killing people. Well, he kills people with this sword. It's the Stormbringer. But anyways, yeah, they call him the White Wolf. If that sounds familiar, it's because that's also Geralt's nickname. And apparently, Geralt and The Witcher in general, anyone who doesn't know, the video games are based off the novels. And apparently the novels ripped off a lot from Elric. I'm not completely sure about that because I haven't read Elric, but this is something that I've heard. I've heard that there's that basically the writer for The Witcher stole or basically just copied a lot of stuff from Michael Moorcock's Elric. One of them being the White Wolf name, another being a long white-haired protagonist who has a sorcerer lover and some other stuff. I can't remember them all, but when you actually hear about the stuff that's very similar, it does kind of paint the picture that Witcher stole from Elric. But yeah, he basically just goes on. He just wanders around, trying to stay away from his lover because he doesn't want to fulfill the prophecy by killing her. And he's kind of been jaded. We have a slave basically being chased by slavers, and he's being attacked, and he begs for help, and Elric just keeps on walking. He doesn't even bother to help him. For some reason, that scene reminded me a lot of Escape from New York, where Snake Plissken's like walking around that building, and then there's that like one girl who's like drugged, and basically a bunch of guys are like gonna gangbang her, and it doesn't necessarily say it's rape, but it's kind of hinted that she's like unconscious and can't consent, and then Snake Plissken just walks right by and doesn't even bother helping. Like I remember, like that scene really stuck out to me because I was like, "Holy shit!" Like you wouldn't expect that from a hero. But I don't know. That scene just reminded me of that. But eventually he comes to where the rest of the bandits are, and we get the sailor. His name is Simiorgon. Probably totally butchered that as well. But yeah, he basically promises, if you give me my freedom, I can make you a wealthy man. And Elric does this thing where he like asks, like, what is your price for a human soul? And he gives him a Melanabornean wheel, basically a gold coin from Elric's kingdom, and the slavers accept. And so Elric brings out his sword and basically slaughters all the slavers. And yeah, the soul that he was buying wasn't the slaves, it was the slavers. So basically they gave up their souls for a gold coin. I thought that was kind of cool. And just like the artwork here is just fantastic. Like I really like that. That's cool. Like I said, like the dialogue is like amazing, which is why I really do think it's just ripped straight from the book. If not, then Julien Blondel and Jean-Luc Cano. I know I'm like butchering those pronunciations, but they did an amazing job. Regardless, even if it is a straight up from the book, they did a good job of taking what needs to be taken and getting rid of what doesn't to adapt into a comic. So yeah, they basically sit around a campfire, telling their stories, and we get more backstory of Elric and all that stuff. It's just basically what I've already mentioned. And then a wolf shows up with the medallion, and this is a sign. Basically, some kind of sorceress was using ether magic to send him a message. So he arrives at this city. She's pretty good looking for a comic book character, if you're into that kind of thing. So yeah, he arrives at the city where he meets up with these shady dudes who basically lead him to their master, who is probably going to butcher this name too, Vasilis. It's her right there. And I was like, ooh, redhead with freckles. Nice. I can totally dig that. I like redheads. TMI. But yeah, basically she tells him the story about how she wants to hire him. She wants to use him as a key for some kind of gate. Basically, she wants to find her lover, I guess. I'll just read it because it'll make a lot more sense. I merely need you to be a key for me. There is a passage. Portal sits lead to an isle beyond time, hidden from all, even the gods. An isle of chaos created years ago by sorcerer, Lord of Melnaborne. So basically, from where Elric is from. I never knew what he hoped to find there, and I have no proof he's still alive. She's talking about her lover. But the one I love has gone and lost himself on that isle, and I need you to follow his footsteps. And she basically ends up convincing him by telling him this story about this sorcerer who was like feared and really cruel, and he could have had anything. And basically, he fell in love with a princess who was captured and brought to the island as a slave. And, he fell in love with the princess. and eventually she sacrificed herself. She threw herself into the abyss to give, like, she fell in love back, and she sacrificed her life. She threw herself into the abyss to give her beloved, like, powers that he can only dream of, but he didn't want that. He wanted her, and I guess this story struck a chord with Elric, so he decides to help her on her journey. And I'm not going to show the rest of the pages because I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, obviously there's going to be more issues. The story's not done, but I think this was a fantastic issue. If this is anything like the novels, I'm definitely going to try to read the novels as soon as I can. I will just say this, the only thing I didn't really care for is I didn't care for this cover. I thought this cover was just kind of weak. It's like, okay, it's a bloody sword. A bloody hand holding a sword. Yay. But there was this alternative cover. I wish my comic book store, if it'll focus, had that. That looks really cool. And then the cover for the next issue looks so badass. It looks like something straight out of like Warhammer Fantasy or Dungeons and Dragons. But yeah, so this was Elric, the White Wolf, issue number 1 by Titan Comics. I'm actually starting to enjoy Titan Comics. They've actually been putting a lot of good licensed stuff out there. But yeah, I would highly recommend this. Story is awesome. Art is great. I love the art, especially the action scenes. The action scenes, like just the contrast of color, like the whites with the bright reds, and just yeah, it's awesome. Story's good, like I said, and I think it did. This right here, like, really helps. It just kind of helps get you in. So I mean, like, I haven't read the first 2 volumes. I have no knowledge of Elric other than what I've just heard from, like, you know, mostly Razorfist's YouTube channel. But even I was able to follow the story, so you guys can easily jump right in. But yeah, this was great. I mean, also for $3.99, you basically get 2 issues in one. That's what it feels like, because there's a lot of pages here, without any ads in the middle, which is great. Like, all this is nothing but actual story. But yeah, highly recommend this. Go pick it up. Anyone who's read the books, tell me what you think. If you've read the comics, are the comics faithful to the novels? I think they are. It feels like they are, but I don't know. But yeah, highly recommend it. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys haven't, please subscribe. Hit the bell for notification. If you guys like the video, leave a like. Feel free to leave a comment. And if you guys are interested in video games, I also have a Twitch, which is at Pirate Monkey. You can find all this information in the description below. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you guys next time. Later.